So you basically just do what you need to do. I thought the speed was good, maybe 2 miles an hour more. If you're going to do the exact same thing, just pick up just a little more before you let up.
I wanted to get a little bit further around, and I thought there would be a little more delay on the butt.
All right, good job, Bang!
Oh my God.
Great. You know what?
I mean, dead perfect.
Gary, this is awesome.
That was really just by chance that I ended up in this business. My grandfather actually was one of the original Keystone Cops and worked for Max Sennett back in the 1920s. But I really never had any aspirations of being in this business. I was a professional racer, and that's really where my passions lie. Actually, I started in the 70s as a stunt performer, then made the transition in the early 80s from a stunt performer to a stunt coordinator.
These high angles for a lot of this action, you know.
The reason why I wanted Gary Hymes was because he was an extremely comprehensive, thorough guy, and a true professional, and he impressed me again and again and again with his desire for preparedness.
We do have a limited budget, so it really involves being very well prepared, having everything planned out, both from a budgetary and a time standpoint. You pretty much have to have it together.
We got to be very, very precise here, okay?
We would meet throughout pre-production where we would discuss the boards shot by shot.
Okay? Yeah, it goes right through the door, and let's have the fist caught in the door.
I really felt like he was approaching the picture in a super organized way. He and his team just meticulously planned every single gag, every stunt gag.
One, go!
He took my anxiety away from the process. I felt like, you know, I had a real hammer in charge of that whole area of the film. It's one of the most critical parts of the film. It's an action picture.
What we're doing here today is we're just doing a little test jump to test the pressures in the shocks, front and rear, and just I'm in a jump harness, which this is part of. So we're just testing the car to make sure we have everything dialed.
Okay. All right, let me go get some cameras, and then we'll videotape this. It was a good test. You know, the driver's really happy. So Gary is such a specialist when it comes to this kind of stuff. What I think is one thing, but you know, he's going to make the major decisions because this is really his forte. And so I'll just take the information to him, and we'll make judgment calls from there and adjust our setups again.
I said, we're not doing any CGI enhanced stuff whatsoever. We're going to do everything old school with real stuntmen, real explosions, real crashing cars. A lot of the time, when I watch a CGI enhanced stunt, I just don't believe it. It doesn't look real.
We're taking a very, straightforward, realistic approach where there will be no CGI, no digital effect shots in it. It's pretty much what you see in the lens is what you're getting.
Basically, the sweet spot for the gag is, if I have my choice, I'd have them right where they're set, but it's from the back wheel of the GTO to the back wheel of this little Buick. That is the ring. So when you go up there, look at it.
We've assembled a wonderful team here. Overall, by the time the film's been completed, we'll probably have used close to 40 different stunt people on the film. We always try to bring in the best people for the job.
Okay, guys, so here's the briefing on what we're doing. This is a 5-camera setup, so far as I know, of the propane tank explosion. Mark is going to get ratcheted back and ignited and flying and landing on fire. Okay, that's the gag.
All right, enforcer number 2, we're doing a little rehearsal to enforcer number 2. This will be where he's hiding behind the grill, and Castle just comes out of his house and shoots the propane bottles, which explode and blow enforcer 2 about 25 feet back.
He'll be flying through the air on fire, and that's it. Then he's dead. Physically on fire, if you do it right, it feels pretty good. When you do it wrong, it feels horrible. So we're going to do it right, and we got a good crew with me, and there you have it.
I know we got the brush. You got your brush?
I have a brush.
I try to keep everything just as calm around me as I can, just it allows me to think. And as much as we plan for everything and account for everything, it's a bomb, and I stand on top of it, and it makes me think about some things. But it's good. It's good.
Hands first?
Yep, let's go once. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Right first?
Let me have some Joe. You hand those hands to Sean. Sean,
Let me have a right first.
just hand it to me.
Left first?
I got your towels.
That's right, buddy. Sorry, but I didn't see it.
You're the whole. Sure.
I don't.
That's good.
You knew that about me, but
Yeah, that's a lot.
we'll go hot here.
Right.
And then we'll walk in.
Exactly.
And then we'll
Once
start
you
to-
go in and he's glued, because I want to roll it before you even exit frame.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine.
Very good. Let's go.
Good, Mark?
Let's put the mask on and hook
All right.
me up.
Okay.
Seconds away, guys. Seconds away.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go!
Cut!
I said I'll take either cut or get in there.
Yeah, I know, and I was waiting. I was waiting for when I saw him came in. I came in, so maybe I didn't hear. So.
I never.
Flyers.
What's it? Flyers. No, it should be here. What's it?
How you doing, Val?
Fine.
Good job,
Great,
man.
thank you.
Hey, and that's how it's done. Another day at the office.
When it comes to stunt work, you want most stunt people to be well-rounded. In other words, if you're doubling the lead of a film, you need a stunt person that pretty much can do it all. But there are those situations where, you know, if you're going into a car chase, and especially if it requires a very high level of expertise, as it does in our case, it necessitated bringing in individual people in certain areas for these very specific requirements.
Rick is on the 75. He's in there. He's protected. You know. Not the joke. Right. I understand.
Yes, and got away.
As soon as, just right as PI is passing you and the car, beeline back to your car, get in close.
When we do a jump or a crash like this, no two are ever alike. I've done hundreds in my career, and each one presents its own set of challenges. On this, we wanted to go out and set the car up to absorb the landing of the jump. I tried to utilize several different techniques, both a suspension seat, utilize a suspension harness for the driver to prevent any spinal injuries, and then set the suspension up in the car as well to absorb the impact of the jump. Bottom line is it just punch it just prior to liftoff, right?
Okay.
Just to get a little loft, you know, just to lighten that front end a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it. On situations like this, you draw from both experience as well as there's a lot of intuitiveness involved as well. After been doing this as many years as I have, you kind of get a sense of things. We try to, take as much risk out of the stunt as possible. That's pretty much my job, is to try to look at anything that could possibly happen, prep for the worst and hope for the best. The bottom line is, if for any reason the car should go on its lid, anything happens, we'll have fire extinguishers standing by, pry bars standing by, you guys will be standing by, and in the event that happens, guys, cool heads prevail. I want it very methodical. I don't want to see a bunch of people rushing in there, okay? Everything, it's imperative, once again, everything goes on 3, 2, 1, right on go. The bridge needs to start, and Ki needs to come ahead to maintain the proper timing on that. Okay? Good. Thanks, buddy. All right.
Anything you can do, guys, let's start brooming everything back. There should be nothing on this road but the ambulance and the Great Hall.
Andreas, you have to be back by the car no more, because that camera up there will see you there.
If the car goes out of control, we're going that way. So, okay. Hopefully it won't.
Hey, very good. Dane, are you guys 100% in the car?
Yes, Ki is 100%.
All right, stand by. Let's start the engine. Stand by.
You guys, we're fully locked up. Chiba, confirm the bridge. No one is anywhere.
Here we go.
Hey, Martin, it's yours, and I'll take it.
Hey, here we go, guys. Pictures up. Let's roll video. And roll camera.
Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! And that's a cut!
Very good, Chief.
Stay here.
I know how Ki is right away.
Thumbs up on Ki.
Thank you. What? Once again? Watch this.
Yeah! This angle is excellent. I mean, they all are.
Nice, brother. How'd you feel?
It was great.
Go for call.
Jump number 1, we might even do it again.
I think it actually worked out real well. You know what? I'm only as good as the people I have working for me, and I try to surround myself with great guys, so, my hat comes off to these guys.
Gary's been amazing. Him and his crew that he works with. I'm just proud to work with guys who are just that good, And when you work with guys that good, you want to give everything to it. That's what it comes down to.
Overall, we probably used 3 different people to double Thomas Jane on the film. Not only car driving double, but my assistant, Mike Massa. Mike is doubling from time to time, and Mike Owen being his primary stunt double. So it does involve, it's a team effort. Mike, I'm gonna show you on this first one the path that one you take stand over my camera. But at the same time, there's been a lot of situations on this film where I would have probably put in a stunt double, but Thomas, he's able to physically carry out more, to do more within the film. He's really been a tremendous asset.
More so than any actor I've worked with in the past, Thomas wanted to fully portray his role in the film, and that extended to performing many, almost all really, of his own stunts.
And he spent a lot of time preparing for this role, both physically and mentally. He's in great physical condition. He's an excellent athlete.
He got probably about a year's worth of training from the tactical standpoint in a very, very short period of time and absorbed it exceptionally well. We started Thomas off with basic firearms training. From there we progressed into edge weapons, quite a bit of knife training, trying to give him as much information as possible where he can pick and choose, dependent upon the situation within the movie, what he would like to use.
Thomas is extremely aggressive and ambitious with his character. He wants to feel what the character's going through, and therefore, by letting him do his own stunts and him wanting to do his own stunts, it even makes him feel that character even further. He's tough. He's one of the toughest actors that I've ever worked with. He's almost like, well, he is like one of us.
What? Yeah, the grenade drop was perfect. Hey, Thomas?
You okay?
Thomas? That was tremendous.
Consequently, Thomas has probably done 80 to 90% of the physical stunts within the film, which is very unusual, and it's a tremendous asset for us.
Generally, as a producer, it's the last thing you want to hear. As a moviegoer, on the other hand, it gives that verisimilitude, it gives that level of authenticity.
Right? And 3, 2, 1, door.
We hired Kevin Nash, a professional wrestler and also a very good actor, surprisingly good actor.
Hello.
To play the Russian.
We were inspired by the comic and the fight that goes on in the comic. It was really creative and great character. We wanted to utilize that as best as we could. Words that me and Jonathan came up with to describe the fight was a horrific clown show.
A storyboard artist and I worked in Los Angeles. We boarded all of the action of the entire picture. I had a fully articulated, storyboarded Russian fight sequence. I knew what I wanted. We were then able to give the storyboards to Gary Hymes, and he started having rehearsals. And he found out that there were some aspects of the interior of the tenement apartment that could be made to better use. So he started adding things to the Russian fight sequence. And it just got better and better.
Kevin's incredible. We couldn't have done a lot of the stuff that we did if Kevin wasn't Kevin, because that stuff, it's like a dance, and if your partner can't dance, it's gonna look ugly. I was playing catch up with Kevin the entire time.
Kevin is an enormous man. I mean, he's 6'10" and over 300 pounds, but he was a basketball player, and thus is very light on his feet. He's very nimble. So he was able to control his movements and also the movements of Thomas Jane in this brutal fight. So when he had his hands around Thomas Jane's neck, for instance, they could give their movements a sense of tremendous ferocity and violence, but at the same time not hurt each other. Kevin not hurt Thomas Jane because he outweighs him by 130 pounds.
That's great.
I think that this was originally written to be a little bit more lighthearted of a fight scene. Thomas's intensity was so good on it, and he does everything. I mean, I thought that there'd be a stunt double doing 90% of this, and Thomas is doing the whole fight scene. So, and he brings that when an actor like that puts that kind of intensity in every scene, it brings out the best of you too. And it's been a pleasure to work with him.
We kept wider than normal. We didn't rely on insert shots as much as other fight sequences. In other words, through the rehearsals with Thomas Jane and Kevin Nash, we had them do the fully articulated moves where you see both actors. And Conrad and I committed to filming it and letting the actors rehearse, getting really good at the articulated moves, and then stepping back just a little bit and filming it.
We picked up the camera in our hand and, basically chased the fight up and down all around these, apartments and tenements. The fight was really dictated by the actors because, I'll be honest with you, I've done a lot of fights in my life, but I've never done a fight in which 99 and 9/10% of the entire fight was done with the two principal actors.
That just really adds tremendous credibility to the fight itself. We're very fortunate. In fact, there was one instance where we have Frank Castle being thrown through a wall by the Russian. And originally I was going to use Mike Owen, Thomas's stunt double for it. Thomas said, think I could do that? And, thought about it. I said, yeah, that'd be fine.
Do one of these.
pile drive through and leave early with your foot way back here.
So we set to do it, and in all my years, I've never seen anyone go through a wall like this.
3, 2, 1, action!
It was so powerful and so dynamic. I mean, you look at that piece of footage, it's so incredibly violent. I mean, I couldn't wait for them to say cut to get out there to be sure he was okay.
You know, it's first time tripping through a wall. You don't know what to expect. He's coming through the wall with high velocity, and he made it to the other side of the wall like we talked about. He was supposed to go to the other side and bounce off and come back, but his angle of attack when he came through was not what we expected, and I think it's what he expected. But still, he got his arm up, he protected himself up, and it looked very violent. It was a spectacular shot.
Bottom line is, if Thomas were to get hurt, it shuts the entire film down. So, you know, there is a fine line there. Part of my job is to recognize where we're pushing the boundaries, and I have great communication with Thomas. We'll discuss it, and then based on all the parameters, I'll make the decision if Thomas should do it or if it should be the stunt person. I would say the most dangerous stunt we did in that sequence was when they fell through the stair rail, hit the wall, and then tumbled to the bottom, which consequently ends up breaking the Russian's neck. I just wanted to be sure that, none of our guys broke their neck doing it.
Do I have anything on my face here, right here? It's a little bit sore, irritated. I don't want to hit you though. A little calamine lotion, I'll be fine, I think. All right.
Bringing the Russian through the railing, the whole idea was to get a lot of energy going for it, making sure we make it to this wall, and making sure that from point A where we started to point B where we land, that we're in the position that the director wants us in. We decided just to go ahead and pretty much shoot the rehearsal and see what happens.
You can try to rehearse that stuff, but in this situation, Jeff's about a 315-pound man. Something did go wrong, and Jeff landed on Mike. Now we just injured Mike, with a very large man. So they just did the walk-ups together, make sure everybody's first part of the gag were in step and in tune, and that they can make it work together.
As soon as we start coming through the door, start your turn because
no matter what.
Turn.
Just take the reaction, just bring your hand across pressure so good.
All cameras?
But, if you have any more.
36.
36, 30. We're gonna hit sticks and we're on 30 now.
Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, set. Ready, guys?
Yeah. Call the ball.
And roll sound, please.
204, take one, off speed cameras.
204, take one, and A camera. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, action! And cut! We have thumbs up, guys? Everyone all right? All right, we have a thumbs up.
He drove him all the way clear across.
He cut their coffee.
Lauren?
Yeah.
I know.
Sure.
Tremendous.
Well, we got
Tremendous, guys.
Very nice. Okay, so
tremendous.
we checked the gates on this?
Yes.
It takes a very unique individual to become a stunt performer. If you look at the numbers overall in this country, it's much easier to get in the NFL or the NBA than it is to be a successful stunt person. There's actually less than 500 full-time working stunt people in this country, and people that work, 200-300 days a year. Whereas every football team has, 30-40 players on the roster overall, so, you can see there's a very small percentage of people who actually are successful or become successful in this industry as stunt performers.
And any questions, anyone? Okay, have a good, safe ride.
Roll cameras. 3, 2, 1, go! Cutting! Cut!
There has to be that underlying passion, of course, because, you know, you can never ask somebody to put themselves in harm's way. That person has to, you know, they have to have that desire and that drive and that energy. I think that's great when somebody can actually, they accept the risk, accept the challenge, they have the confidence and the skill necessary to bring it to fruition, and they're very calm and collected about it. Those are the type of stunt people that we like to have around here.
F, please. Oh, great, great, great. That's great. Okay.
There's not a film
Very
that I
good.
don't learn something new on or find a better way or a different way. My opinion is no one person knows it all. I mean, yeah, you need a great camera crew, you need people that understand action, and you need, you know, it goes all the way from the ADs on down. You need wonderful special effects people if you're doing mechanical effects, gags, explosions. The bottom line is you're relying on the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And we were very fortunate. We had a wonderful team on this film.
Great job, Gary.
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you very much. All right, now we got the tough one.
Okay.
Thanks.
This was not a normal production. In this movie, there was no leeway, ever. The first time I read a Punisher comic was when Marvel sent over the Garth Ennis Welcome Back Frank series, and I read it in just a couple hours, and then I called Marvel and committed to the project.
Well, 20, maybe we can do a steady thing in there.
The first thing I knew about anything was what the budget was. We're going to do this $28 million movie. Oftentimes you can go back to the studio and say, look, we've evaluated what this is going to cost. So the first number you had in mind, unfortunately, was a great number, but it's not real. We didn't have that luxury on this.
I was under such time constraints. I had to do this entire picture in 50 days, which is half the number of days most action pictures take to shoot.
I know that this material can be done in 2 nights. I've done this too many times to...
It's just that the summer nights are shorter.
Right.
The sun comes up earlier, goes down later. The other thing is that just so we know, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna have time on these nights to break for a meal. We'll break.
I decided that the only way we were going to be able to deal with that kind of stringent schedule was to have all the action sequences very tightly storyboarded. I hired a storyboard artist, Mark Messenger, 9 months before principal photography.
Let's try to get some specificity here and precision right from the get-go.
It's traditional on every movie to have a production meeting at the end of the pre-production time. So we came up with a plan that every week, all of the heads of each department would go through portions of the schedule and talk about in depth and at length all of the questions that they had.
When we do hit Castle, that punch comes in, does he fall back?
We do an outward shotgun blast and the guy's back.
How big would this combined Tampa PD and FBI task force be?
It had a huge effect on how things went. Never done it before, and I certainly will do it again if directors that I work with are willing.
This will all give us food for thought. We will attack Kuwait.
In the original script, there was a big battle scene in Kuwait, and we had everything in place, and we just couldn't afford it.
The sequence was specifically designed to show why Frank Castle is the man he is as the movie opens. The powers that be decided that it was unnecessary to the telling of the story, and they asked me to cut it. And I said, you have to understand, the entire script was based on this early event in his military career.
Jonathan had to go through this heart-wrenching decision about whether he would lose Kuwait. He took Kuwait out of the movie.
Okay, on the day then, if we're talking about first shot, we need to have our crane and everything ready to roll over here. When we say action, that thing has got to, with Thomas Jane on it, has got to come down perfect.
The great thing about Tampa is that it is a city that we haven't seen on screen before. It's virgin territory. It has a great waterfront, and it allows, certainly for the production, to use the beaches there as Puerto Rico.
This is an isolated area of the Puerto Rican coastline.
Tampa was the most shootable city. There's no residential apartments in the downtown. No one lives there. So when people come out of their office buildings, they go home to the suburbs, leaving the vertical downtown deserted. So you can come in there on the weekends or at night and have film crews running rampant up and down the cities with no crowd control problems or anything.